As you can see here, the way I've constructed the neck means that it's left a slight gap between the fretboard and the body. There's two ways of doing this. You can either do it the way I've done, which leaves the gap, or you can plane the body down at an angle so the fretboard sits flat against it. Gibson did it both ways. I've chosen to do it this way, but all it means is I've got to make a little wedge shaped piece of rosewood to fit in that gap. I've already done the one at the bottom. So I just need to shape that down now so it's a nice flush fit and glue it in. The reason I'm doing this is the fretboard is unsupported at the sides for the last 3 frets, and if I tried to knock those frets in, there's a good chance that I'd split the fretboard. So it's a little job, but it's necessary. So the last big job we've got to do on this guitar, and probably the most important, is to get the frets in. Okay, so in terms of the frets, I've rubbed the fretboard down to 2000 grade, wet and dry, and it's very smooth, it's got a bit of a sheen to it. I've then gone and checked that all the fret slots are clear, there's nothing in there, and I've just opened the fret slots out a little bit at the top with a triangular file, just to give a little bit of a lead in. My fretting technique is fairly rudimentary. I use a soft phase mallet and just knock them in. So it's literally a case of just supporting the neck underneath where you're going to put the fret in. I've got these frets, they're pre-cut, pre-radiused. Radius is about right. Check that already. If anything, they need to be a little bit over radiused, and that's what these are, so that's fine. And it's just a case of locating the fret in the slot, tapping it in at one side, tapping it in at the other side, then starting in the middle, work your way out, and then just check to see that it's well seated everywhere. And that's spot on, that's gone on really nicely. The reason I start at the outside and then work from the middle is the outside positions it in the slot and work from the middle, and what that does is it makes the barbs on the fret tang just work out sideways slightly, and that makes the fret grip the neck really, really well. So I'm just going to work my way down, and I'll see you at the other end. So that's the frets in, just need to trim them down now. So I've cut the ends of the frets off with a pair of nippers, but that's left them quite sharp, so I'm just going to smooth that off with a file. So they're all flush to the side of the fretboard now. So the next stage is to just run the file down the side of the fretboard at a slight angle, just to bevel the ends of those frets over a little bit. So next I'm just going to level these frets. They don't seem bad, but I think there are one or two that just need a little bit taking off. Obviously we don't want to damage the fretboard, so I'm going to mask it up. Okay, with that all masked off, I'm just going to take a black marker, just mark the frets up. And with that done, I'm going to take my highly specialised fret levelling tool. Now some of you may think this looks like an old level. There's a good reason for that. But it is straight and it does the job. We'll give that a quick test with the fret rocker. So now we've done that, some of these frets are kind of quite flat on the top, others still have their round profile. So to fix that up, I'm just going to take a fret crowning file. We're going to mark them up as we did last time, and then we're just going to take these shoulders down with the crowning file until we just have a very thin black line left in the middle. This is one of Crimson's fret crowning files. As you can see, it's got safe edges on all three corners, so it's not going to dig into your fretboard, but it does an absolutely amazing job of cleaning up the shoulders on those frets. Right, with that done, next thing is we need to clean up the top of these frets a bit more. I've used quite high grit sandpaper there. That was 180 grit, and it's very worn, but it's still quite coarse. So what I need to do now is get those scratches out of those frets, because I can feel them on my fingernail and you'll feel them under the strings, so they need to be polished up a little bit. So I'm just going to use progressively finer wet and dry paper on there until we've got the finish we need. So I'm going to start with some 400 paper. I like to use a block to do this. I know some people do it freehand, but I prefer a block. So with the frets levelled and crowned, I'm now just going to clean up the fret ends, again I'm using small triangular file, and this one again has had its edge ground down on this corner so it's not going to dig into the fretboard. And simply work my way around at an angle on both sides and round off that corner. So I'm just going to work my way down the rest of these frets and get them all finished off nicely. And then with those ends rounded over, it's just a matter of taking a bit of wet and dry paper and smoothing everything off. So they're nice to the touch now, no sharp edges at all. So I'm just going to work my way through a few grits of wet and dry and we're ready to polish. So with that done, the final step with the frets is just to literally take a little bit of auto sol and a buffing pad on a Dremel and give these frets a good polish. Right, get the tape off and see how we've done. A quick clean up and there we have it, the fret's done. I'll get some closer shots in a minute. So with that done, I think it's a case of stripping the guitar down now. There's one or two little bits and pieces that I need to tidy up. And then we're into getting it sanded down, getting it prepped up, ready for the finish. Okay, that's it for this one. Thanks for watching everyone and hope to see you soon.